Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. We have an incredible, not an awesome, an incredible show planned for you today. It's an important show. It's going to be a marathon show, and it's just going to be me and you, just like last Monday. And people sent me a lot of notes about last Monday's show and how much they enjoyed it. And we unpacked the big idea and we walked you through the whole clown show deal and what's going on in the country. This show today, I think, may be the most important show we've done here at Fearless. And we've done, I think, more than 500 shows now. This will be the most important. This show today, I say this half jokingly, but half seriously, could wind me up in jail or dead. And that's not an overstatement about what we're going to discuss today. And we're going to do it for the next 2 hours, I think, at the minimum. May go 2.5, may go 3, may go 4 hours. I'm not sure. But I have a lot to unpack and get off my mind. Some of it is Deion Sanders related. Some of it's Taylor Swift related. A lot of it's football related. Buckle up, call your friends, start pounding the like. If you're over on Apple listening, hit the 5-star review, leave a comment. As the show plays out, I need you in the comment section telling me what you think about everything that I'm unpacking today, because your feedback is critical today. Your feedback will be my guide and the guide for this show and the Fearless movement as I unpack these ideas. I need you guys emailing me your thoughts as well, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. But hop right into the comments on YouTube, get in the live chat, or leave me a comment over Apple about everything we discussed today, because it is critically important. I want to open up a little room for the conversation by taking care of one of our great sponsors who makes this possible for us to have these discussions. Have you been told to max out your 401k? The Wall Street Casino loves to roll the dice with your hard-earned life savings. But the only thing Wall Street guarantees is that they always get paid whether you win or lose. Thankfully, there's a better way to grow your nest egg. Bank on Yourself is a guaranteed and predictable way to grow your hard-earned money. This retirement plan alternative gives you 100% control of your money, plus tax-free income in retirement. Bank on Yourself provides guaranteed predictable growth in retirement income with no luck, skill, or guesswork required. You'll know what your tax rate will be in retirement, 0 under current tax law, which protects you from the coming tax tsunami. You're also in control. Unlike 401ks or IRAs with Bank on Yourself, you get access to your money for any purpose at any time with no questions asked and no government penalties or restrictions on how much income you can take or when you can take it. Now get a free report with all the details on how the Bank on Yourself strategy adds guarantees, predictability, tax savings, and control to your financial plan. Just go to bankonyourself.com/fearless. That's bankonyourself.com/fearless. Boy, I'm going to be doing that today, particularly after this Firestarter and the conversation after this Firestarter, because the establishment is not going to be pleased with me after today's show. But that's perfectly fine. That's what we do here. So let's get rolling with the Firestarter. Colin Kaepernick will be remembered as a puberty blocker, the initial step in transitioning football from patriarchy to matriarchy. Deion Sanders and Taylor Swift are the doctors assigned to perform the gender-affirming surgery on America's pastime. They're the pop culture icons being used to completely sever football from its traditional roots. Sanders and Swift are the two biggest stories in football. Neither take the field. Sanders, an all-time great athlete, is a celebrity college coach. His 3-2 last-place Pac-12 Colorado Buffaloes are the main draw in college football. Everybody loves Coach Prime. Black celebrities flocked to one of the whitest places in America to stand on the sideline next to Deion. Taylor Swift, of course, is a pop music star. She's 2 weeks into an arranged relationship with Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. Sunday night, NBC opened its broadcast of the Chiefs-Jets game with Carson Daly explaining football to Swifties, Taylor's legion of fans. The Sunday Night Football opened with Carson Daly explaining football to Taylor Swift fans. So the game is no longer the main thing. It's all the extras. It's Taylor Swift. It's everybody else. It's who's coming to the game. Oh, she brought Blake Lively or whatever his name is. Oh, she brought Stephanie Turner or, people that I don't know or care about, but all these other celebrities. That was the big deal last night before Sunday Night Football. Not Patrick Mahomes, not what was going on the field, Taylor Swift and all of her buddies. This year, thanks to Sanders and Swift, the players on the field matter less than the celebrities on the sidelines. This is all by design. It's part of the feminization movement. It's part of making football more like basketball. The entrance into the locker room is now a fashion show runway. The games take a back seat to promotion of consumerism. Deion hawks designer sunglasses at nearly every press conference. Sanders and Swift are mostly unaware of how they're being used to decouple football from Christian values, national patriotism, and top-down military authority. They just know the money's good. They're well-compensated and highly celebrated, useful idiots. Their role in the 2023 football season isn't some sort of organic surprise. It's orchestrated and well-planned. It's 30 years in the making. It's no different from the plan legendary NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle hatched 60 years ago when he told NFL Films to create highlight videos that analogize the league's games to military conflict. In order to unseat Major League Baseball, Rozelle created the myth that the most patriotic thing a God-fearing, red-blooded American man could do is spend his fall Sundays watching Jim Brown, Dick Butkus, Roger Staubach, and Mean Joe Green collide for 3 hours. Professional football has always been a virtue signal. Roger Goodell and the powers that be are simply changing the frequency to a signal that attracts the secular, the globalist, and the revolutionary. Being a Christian, I don't like the change. I can easily see the damaging consequences of this radical cultural shift. It's another step, perhaps the final step, towards cultural Marxism. Football is the last powerful force in American television. It's the only content that still drives large ratings and still brings in a disparate group of American citizens together across the political and racial spectrum. Football had been the only conservative institution the left failed to conquer and reshape. Deion Sanders and Taylor Swift are planting the mission accomplished flag for the left. Most people can't see it. They think Deion Sanders and Taylor Swift, they're harmless, entertainers who make people smile. Deion loves to talk about his Christian faith and love of Jesus. What do his actions say? His actions say that he is in love with the adulation of the world. A friend of the world is an enemy of God. That's the Bible, James 4:4. Bible makes it crystal clear. No one who takes their faith seriously would invite the rapper DaBaby to speak to college kids. Sanders did that this weekend before the Buffaloes played USC. Take a listen.
I got somebody else who went through something, who dealt with some issues that had to regroup, veered off a little bit, got back on track, and I love him to life. It's like a little brother to me. You got it?
What's up, fellas?
Well, I just told him that you had some adversity in your life.
Plenty of it.
On top,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
like a big dog.
It's gonna be some more of it too.
Tell me how you do it.
I just keep going, you know what I'm saying? Just keep going, just stay down, you know what I mean? Stay at it. You know, when I saw, y'all run into the little adversity that y'all did last week, which is minor. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, that's gonna be real healthy, you know what I'm saying? They know what to do with that. I feel like y'all in the program, they know what to do with that, but that's normal, man, it's regular. You know, and to get it early on, it's more healthy than to run into it later. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, y'all got it.
If you were sitting out there right now, how would you be feeling right now?
I'll be ready to do something. You know what I'm saying? Ready to do something.
DaBaby's real name is Jonathan Kirk. His original stage name was Baby Jesus. Here's an alternate nickname for Jonathan Kirk, Black Kyle Rittenhouse. Kirk has shot 2 people and killed 1. He claimed self-defense in each shooting. Okay, what's the difference between Kirk and Rittenhouse? Rittenhouse shot white people in self-defense. Kirk shot black people in self-defense. Could a white coach keep his job if he invited Kyle Rittenhouse to speak to his team about overcoming adversity? Think that one through. I want to stop there for a think that one through. There's no difference, Kyle Rittenhouse and DaBaby, other than DaBaby makes debaucherous rap songs. And DaBaby shoots black people, Kyle Rittenhouse shot white people. If a coach brings Kyle Rittenhouse, who faced murder charges or manslaughter or whatever charges in Kenosha, Wisconsin, for defending himself, he overcame some adversity. Could any coach in America bring Kyle Rittenhouse into their locker room and keep his job? But Deion can bring DaBaby. DaBaby's bad behavior goes beyond the 2 shooting incidents. He's been involved in violent assaults, including at least one that involved striking a woman. His music is crude and pornographic. His most popular songs and video in 2023 is Shake Something. He repeatedly barks that he makes ghetto bitches put their hands on their knees while women in G-strings twerk behind him. A couple of weeks ago, I compared Sanders to Barack Obama, another icon who allowed people to feel good about themselves. Obama normalized racial idolatry and empowered the LGBTQ while pretending to be a Christian. Deion's impact on college football will be similar. In order to compete with him in recruiting, more and more college coaches will invite rappers and sex influencers, Brittany Renner, to speak to their teams. What's sad is that football does not need the support of rappers or pop music stars. Football is being used by Taylor Swift, DaBaby, and the dying music industry. Most of the music has become so unimaginative and degenerate that it can't reach, inspire, and motivate people the way it did in previous eras. The music has no real message. It's no longer a reflection of culture. It's only good for twerking and TikTok. Taylor Swift is popular, but she's not important. She's one of a million leftist celebrities promoting abortion and the matriarchy. She can sell out major venues without touching a single soul. Oliver Anthony is more important than Swift. That's why she's partnered with Kelce in the NFL. She's the big star. The NFL is the cultural force being injected with Marxist values. Sanders and Swift are football's latest Trojan horses. They're not harmless. I'm not going to apologize for rejecting them. But the truth is, we need to aim higher in our rebuke of what is happening to the game we, Christians, built and loved. I don't think we should just walk away from or boycott football. We can't surrender every institution to the left. We should fight back, though. I have some solutions that I'm going to unpack throughout the rest of this show. That's my Firestarter. I'm going to fan these flames and talk about what we need to do in reaction to what's going on with football. The things that we're seeing and witnessing, the elevation of Taylor Swift and Deion Sanders, these aren't accidents. These are the final steps to overhauling and transitioning football into a total tool for the left and their messaging. We built football. Christians, conservatives, patriots. We built football, and we're just sitting back and looking at non-believers, liberals, and people that hate America overtake football. The globalists, the secularists, the revolutionaries, overtaking football and using it as a tool to promote their agenda, their entire agenda. It's not just a game. If it was just a game, the left wouldn't force all their messaging down football. They need a vehicle to sell their message. Football's the only vehicle that drives 80, 90 miles per hour anymore. You can't do it with TV shows. There are no mashes. There are no cheers. There are no happy days or whatever. The shows that families used to gather around and watch together, and then advertisers and whoever's in control, the powers of the establishment, can force their agenda down their throat. They can't do it anymore with regular TV shows. Football is the only thing that really matters and drives an audience. And so they've overtaken it, and they've loaded it up with their messaging. I'm going to get into that and unpack that a bit more on the other side of this. I want to take a little bit more time and thank one of our sponsors that allows us to gather here and to have these conversations. For 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And when I say only, trust me, they're the only ones. Glenn and the team have been great supporters of this show, which is why I am proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you the ability to access all three major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're sending the message that you support free speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, Second Amendment, and our military veterans and first responders. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes everything easy when it comes to switching. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Jason or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Jason. Join me. Make the switch today. patriotmobile.com/Jason. That's patriotmobile.com/Jason or call 972-PATRIOT. Keep pounding that like button. Keep leaving me comments. Give me that 5-star review on Apple. Email me about today's show at fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. It's going to get better right after we take this short break.
It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
Previously on Fearless.
On the sidelines, Lil Wayne, Key Glock, The Rock, Master P, Offset, the whole rap community, the whole gangster rap community. That's who Deion front and centered for all of Boulder, Colorado. But this is a God thing. And I'm supposed to be good with it. I'm supposed to allow this man to sit up and package what he's doing as a God thing, and I'm just supposed to let it ride. He can wrap up God however he wants. He can attach it to all these secular wannabe thugs, all of that debauchery, all of that foolishness. He can attach it to that and say, oh, this is a God thing. I'm doing this for God. Really. All right, welcome back. All right, let's dig in here for the next hour and a half or so. There's some things I want to further elaborate on what it is we can do to combat what's happening. You know, a lot of people talk about boycott this, boycott that. It's hard giving up football, and I don't think we should give up football. I don't think we should give up the institutions that we invested in and we built and were instrumental in promoting manhood and the patriarchy. Instrumental in supporting Christian values. If you understand the history of organized sports, and again, these are things that I've talked about endlessly on this show. But again, if you understand the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA, and its history of supporting organized sports and normalizing organized sports across the globe, but particularly here in America. If you understand anything about the CYA, the Catholic Youth Association, the CYA and their involvement in football and integrating athletics and all of that, you know who built all of the sports, organized team sports, but in particular football. If you know the history of the NFL and Pete Rozelle and what they did to make football America's national pastime, and how they attached the brand of the NFL to patriotism, to the military, to Christian values. You don't just throw all of this investment away and get handed over to the left. That is not what we should do. I am not telling anybody, hey, don't watch football. But we should do something. And when you look at how the NFL and football are being used to impose their values across the board, from the NFL commercial that we talked about last year, the NFL is gay. You remember that? To Colin Kaepernick, allowing that to go on for a year in 2016, and to allow this lack of respect for our country to become commonplace at football games. So here's football, the one place where everybody across all demographics, across all economic status, across all ethnic groups, where everybody comes together. Colin Kaepernick made the playing of the national anthem polarizing and controversial, and now they're playing two different national anthems at a lot of these football games. To the NFL swallowing and promoting the Black Lives Matter agenda. To the NFL being so clearly out of the closet, their players and everybody, anti-Trump. All the commercials that we've endured over the last 3 to 4 to 5 years promoting the LGBTQ agenda through football. Through the entire takeover of ESPN and Fox Sports, where people with our values and our point of views, we're not even allowed to speak on those platforms and represent our views. Everybody has to be of the same voice. We're getting run out of sports. And that's why they have taken over football, because that is the most important possession in all of popular culture. Do we just surrender it? Do we just walk away? To me, that's weak. That is not the right play. And so I'm going to try to walk you through the opportunity that we have here and why we should seize upon this opportunity. They have turned football into their political platform. They created the political football that we're all dealing with now, and it's a left-wing football. And Taylor Swift, who's out leading voter registration drives intended to register left-wing voters. They just did a story on that in the past week or two about her voter registration drive. And voila, she just happens to pop up as the biggest star in all the NFL now because she's dating Travis Kelce. And NBC Sunday Night Football, the week after she hooks up with Travis Kelce in Kansas City, Sunday Night Football just happens, the biggest show the NFL has, Sunday Night Football, just happens to be in New York, and Taylor Swift and all of her celebrity friends are at the game. And Taylor Swift is pro-abortion. And Travis Kelce took a knee during the whole Colin Kaepernick mess. And Travis Kelce's on board with all this left-wing matriarchal BS. They want that model out there for all men. Hop on board. The biggest, toughest football players are hopping on board with the matriarchy and being number two to some skanky pop music star, Taylor Swift. And I know that's your wife's favorite artist, and I know everybody loves Taylor Swift. And she got an album called Fearless that's hanging up here. I get the whole Taylor Swift thing. I get it. But she ain't special. She's just another useful idiot, another tool being used to feminize America and to make America a globalist country that's anti-nationalism, that's anti-God. Deion Sanders, the same thing. This is happening in conjunction in college and pro football. The normalizing, the infusion of this whole NBA style, pop culture is everything, rappers are everything, every music star is everything. What music star is at the game? Who's on the sidelines? It's no longer about the players on the field. It's about who's on the sideline. Deion Sanders, just think about this past weekend. The returning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, was playing against Colorado. He was overshadowed by the coach on the sideline. The selling point was the coach on the sidelines and all the rappers and other entertainers he was attracting to the game. The spectacle of football is now bigger than the actual game. Because the spectacle comes with all of these secular values and consumerism and materialism and sexual degeneracy that they want to force down all of our throats. This stuff is all connected. That's why I'm using analogies about puberty blockers and gender-affirming surgery. It's all connected. Pop culture, rap music, Taylor Swift music, all of this stuff is all selling. Transgenderism, the LGBTQ, all the secular values are being sold through this form of music and this form of entertainment, and they're injecting it into football. So that when you sit down and tune into football, it ain't about the kids on the field, it's about the message that comes with the game. They want you drunk and high and stupid. That's what rappers and pop music stars are. They're drunk, high, and stupid. Just think about the values for those of you that are just over 30. You ain't even got to be old like me, but just over 30. What did athletes and athletics used to represent? I'm talking about when I was growing up, when I was young. Athletes had a standard. I'm not saying they lived up to it, and I'm not saying they all met that standard. But the standard wasn't to be a rapper, to show up speaking to a group of kids on a college campus in a wife beater with gold chains and mumbling some words. All because you rap or say, I can make ghetto bitches put their hands on their knees. This is who we're putting in front of young people and making idols of idiots and degenerates. Deion's normalizing that and selling it to you all as, oh, I'm a Christian too. Cut it out and stop it. This is all disconnecting us from God. I'm not saying football and sports were ever perfect, but they were not this. And they should not be this. Oh, The blindest man should be able to see what Deion and Taylor Swift and what's going on with football, what that represents and what the agenda is. If you can't see it, I pray for you. I feel sorry for you if you're that stupid. This is not harmless. This is about taking one of the last institutions we have that actually at some point was promoting some decent values. I'm not saying perfectly. I'm not saying everybody involved in football, you go, well, what about Brett Favre? Well, what about this coach or that coach? And so I'll just tell you how quickly things had changed and how remember when everybody was upset that Rick Pitino allegedly had strippers helping to recruit at Louisville? Remember when we were all upset? Oh, that violates college athletics. Oh, that's terrible. They allegedly, his assistant coaches booked some strippers. Now the head coach at Colorado, when he was at Jackson State, he brought a bona fide out-of-the-closet hoe to talk to his team in a team meeting. That's what Brittany Renner is. This wasn't something off, supposed to be some secret, and late at night the players arranged for some stripper to entertain the team. This was front and center, the head coach bringing a hoe to talk to his team. And now he's doubled down. Hey, let me bring the baby. This man has 2 bodies on him. He's got teardrops. Let me bring him to come talk to the team and dare anybody to question it. The baby's done beat up women. Again, he shot and killed one man. Self-defense? Maybe it was. But then you done shot 2 people? What crowd you running in? I mean, seriously. Other than a policeman or a gang member or a soldier, who has shot 2 people in self-defense? What are you doing? If you're not gangbanging, if you're not a cop or you're not a soldier, how do you shoot 2 people? And then, let me bring that person in to speak to my team. And he's like a son to me, blah, blah, blah. And how did you overcome the adversity? And then this guy mumbles a few words, and we're supposed to sit. This is the Christian coach? This is an agenda. This is an agenda to further corrupt and pervert an institution that had attempted to stand for something good, strong, masculine, and decent. Anytime your sport has moved to a place where it's safer and more appropriate and more celebrated to bring a rapper that has shot 2 people to your locker room than it is to bring Ben Carson or Clarence Thomas, you're doing something wrong. This is how perverted football has become. This is how important it's become to the left and their overall agenda to suck us all away from our Christian values. To completely decouple football from the traditions that made it great. They're doing the same thing to the rest of society. Let me get to my point about what we should do and how we should fight back. And I initially said, and I stand by it, boycott is not the solution as it relates to the football season. And this is where I want y'all's feedback and need y'all's help to think it through. We need to boycott the Super Bowl, a one-off event, and maybe an annual one-off event of boycotting the Super Bowl. And I'm going to, it may take some time, but I want to walk you through Why the Super Bowl? It's the most important event we have in all of pop culture. It's the biggest platform in all of pop culture. They have, as I've been explaining to you, have made football very political. Anything that supports their agenda is appropriate for football. They use the football platform, the NFL platform, the football platform, to promote all of their agendas, everything that they believe in. The matriarchy, hey, we're diversity, equity, inclusion, Black Lives Matter, hate of anything conservative. Hey, let's put all these Marxist slogans and racial idolatry, let's put that in our end zone. Let's all take group knees in defiance of the national anthem. Anything they want to promote, they promote through football. Let's eviscerate from the entire mainstream corporate television, corporate sports media conversation. Let's eliminate a conservative Christian point of view. Will Cain, you cannot exist here at ESPN. We don't tolerate that. Anybody that's not willing to bob their head and say, oh, yeah, racism. Anybody that might say, well, hold on, guys, maybe you're looking at this the wrong way, is not allowed on any of these platforms. They either have to sit silent and say nothing, or they have to bob their head like Skip Bayless does. Yeah. Everybody's racist. I agree. They've spayed and neutered Skip Bayless to the point I saw this weekend or on Friday, they had to fly Skip Bayless and his whole crew out to Boulder, Colorado for Deion Sanders to put his hands on him and tell black people, hey, Skip's one of the good ones. And Skip just gold chain on, pretending to be best friends with Lil Wayne. Again, this is the ante because you cannot have an opposing point of view. Anything that opposes the left is not allowed, and you must get on your knees and genuflect and kiss butt and co-sign every bit of stupidity that comes out of one of these athletes' mouth. Anytime an athlete plays the race card and, oh my God, Deion's being mistreated, it's racism, you just got to nod, yeah. No one gets to argue the other side. Football is allowing this. The NFL could put a stop to this immediately, but they won't because they've sold out. Trust me, the NFL and the NBA, they determine who gets to be on these platforms. They could tell ESPN and Fox Sports, nah, you know what? We want the other side represented. Let them guys say all their stupid stuff, but we want one or two people that will argue the other side of it. And in an instant, you'd see that reflected on ESPN and Fox Sports. The NFL has that type of power, but they don't use it because they're in bed with the other side. And so why do I say boycott the Super Bowl? Just let's walk through what we've been talking about on this show over the past couple of weeks and about how they have silenced any type of real dissent. And see, America used to be about Americans able to gather in public spaces as a group and complain about what they didn't like. But now, through the cleverness of the FBI and the CIA and the Department of Justice, they figure, oh, if you gather up together, we can just plant a few people inside of that group and portray you guys as the most racist people on the planet. We just, last Friday, when I had Steve Baker on, we talked about the Oath Keepers. Remember, the media has described the Oath Keepers as a group of white supremacists. And the second in command, as we learned last week, was a black dude. They've rigged the game. They've silenced dissent. If Martin Luther King was known for his March on Washington. 500,000 people going to Washington, D.C. to make their feelings known. Some people gathered up on January 6th to go make their feelings known at the Capitol. They planted some agitators in there and threw a Molotov cocktail basically and ignited something that they have used to completely silence dissent. People that did nothing are rotting in prisons. I think the head of the Oath Keepers, wasn't the guy told us last week, the head of the Oath Keepers, who wasn't in D.C. This dude got 18 years for January 6th. He wasn't even there. We had Sarah Maccabee on last week. Her husband's been sitting in prison for 2 years. No trial, sitting in jail for 2 years, and they got video evidence and testimony saying he was there helping people, helping law enforcement. But he was a Trump supporter. So he's sitting in jail. They have illegalized us gathering together as a group. They will put agitators within our groups and frame us as white supremacists, sellouts, white nationalists, terrorists. So we can't gather up together like the way the country was designed to operate. The people's voice is supposed to be heard. Then they basically eliminated us from the media. So you can't gather together in Washington, D.C., and I'll explain, the nation's capital, and let the lawmakers be. They built a moat around Washington, D.C. and the Capitol because they weaponized the Department of Justice, and they know the nation's capital, 95% are Democrats? And so your jury pool, if they trick you into coming to Washington, D.C., and then you do any kind of protesting that they don't like, they will charge you with a crime and then set a voting demographic that's 95% Democrat and leftist. They will sick that voting Democrat on you in the jury pool. And they got like a 98, 99% conviction rate. So take your conservative Christian point of view and say, hey, I want to go to D.C. and let the lawmakers know what I think. You show up there, they've planted some people to make your group look crazy and racist. Then they do a little agitation so they can say you did some sort of crime. And then they'll take, and I'm just going to keep it real here, let's keep it, we talking about D.C., an all black, all Democrat jury and throw you under the jail. You can't protest. You cannot go to the nation's capital and let people know what you think. They've rigged the system. Then you turn to the media. And this includes Fox News because they're not really representing you. Not in a real way. They're part of the gimmick and part of the scheme and part of the uniparty, just like everybody else. And so you don't have a voice in the media. This is how bad things have gotten. The person who most speaks for us in the media, who most boldly speaks for us in the media, and I say this without, and I'm talking about corporate media, the rigged up left-wing corporate media. The person who speaks loudest for us is a devout atheist and leftist, Bill Maher. He says more things that I agree with and strongly, with some aggressiveness. He says more of it than anybody else. That's how bad things are. That's not a good thing. That's not me celebrating Bill Maher. That's me saying that Fox News decided your voice, our voice was unworthy of being heard, so they stripped Tucker Carlson of his position. We can't go to Washington, D.C. and say a word. We have no voice in corporate media. We've been silenced. So how can we gather? How can we show our dissatisfaction? I say football's presenting us the perfect opportunity. I say the National Football League. They made the National Football League political. They made it a platform for their point of view. Why can't we turn the tables and make it a platform for our point of view about everything? Not just about football-related stuff, everything. They've made it a platform for their everything. Why can't we? And so if say you're Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire, and you want to make a point about transgenderism and the mutilation of children, why not make the Super Bowl your platform? Why not make a Super Bowl boycott your way of saying, hey, you know what? Let's cut it out with the mutilation of children. I'm not watching the Super Bowl this year because leftists who have turned football into their platform are using football to promote the mindset that justifies the mutilation of children. Why not? And again, this is where I want you all to participate with me. I have not thought this all through. I need your help. I'm going to reach out to Matt via text and email or whatever, but I want you all to reach out to him and explain to him what I'm talking about in terms of the opportunity we have here to voice our opinion about a number of issues through the Super Bowl. We can't go to D.C. We don't have voices in corporate media. Let's turn the Super Bowl into our platform for expressing our dissatisfaction about a number of issues. A number of issues that need to be addressed. If you're a parent and there's some left-wing, blue-haired teacher at your child's school that wants to talk to them about their gender identity, wants to read these sexually depraved books to them, wants to give them a different set of clothes when they come to school, a different name, a different set of pronouns, and keep it a secret from you. If that school wants to have drag queens come and read books to your 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader, why not let America know that you're tired of that on Super Bowl Sunday? You can't go to D.C. Be called a homophobe and racist. They could come up with some law that you violated and throw you underneath a jail. We've had success at one thing here. We've had one big victory recently, the Bud Light thing. Boycotts work. We shook up Bud Light and scared other major brands. If you really want to shake things up, if you really want to shake up these brands and scare them and draw a line in the sand and say enough is enough, trust me, if we damage the Super Bowl and its ratings, we're going to wake some people up. There's so much money riding on that Super Bowl and so much of their agenda riding on that Super Bowl. That's why 2 years ago they had Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and the next year who was Rihanna, and they had Beyonce and all these satanic music industry people platforming them at halftime of the Super Bowl. And now they want to back up and retreat a little bit. Oh, we'll bring Usher in. He's non-polarizing. That's just them covering up and trying to put you back to sleep. But let me walk you through the other one. And this again, get me in trouble with YouTube and all that. But I've already explained to you, you can't protest. You have no voice in corporate media. Can you honestly trust the election? Can you honestly trust the election? Just me and you talking. This ain't gonna be on MSNBC or your boss ain't gonna know. This is just me. Do you honestly trust the election process? I don't. Only fools would trust this election process they've come up with all these mail-in ballots. Call me an election denier. I don't trust it. No sane person would trust this election process that they have concocted. And so when I walk you through again, how the system was set up and supposed to be able to operate, if you're dissatisfied with the politicians, you should be able to vote them out. Step 2, if you can't vote them out, you should be able to protest in front of them and let them know your dissatisfaction. Step 3, if they ignore that, the media is supposed to be the voice of the people and question these people about your concerns, about what you're upset about. Are any of those 3 things available to us? Can we trust the election? Can we protest? Does the media represent our point of view? Does the media that does, the independent media that does, do they have access to question Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, AOC, any of them about anything? Is AOC going to sit down for an interview with Glenn Beck? Is Joe Biden? We have no voice. We got to hit them in the pocketbook. That's what the Bud Light thing proved. That's our only avenue. Can't protest. Questionable whether we can vote them out. Media won't speak for us. Did you? First of all, the 2020 election where Joe Biden lost so many counties and so many bellwether counties that his victory is nearly impossible to believe. And then 2022, the midterm, we'll show him. He's going to lose so much and we're going to overtake the House and we might take back the Senate. Oh, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a red tsunami. Did it happen? And you trust this process? They turn football into a political platform. Football is our platform. We built it. We supported it. They're actually, again, they're trying to kill football, and that's how they've overtaken it. By putting a gun to Roger Goodell and NFL ownership's head, either get on board with us or we're going to continue to promote this concussion narrative and all this other stuff, and we're going to take football out. And so they surrendered, they folded. But they turned football into their platform. Let's don't walk away. Let's fight back. Let's punish them on Super Bowl Sunday. That's my idea. I want to give you, because this is a big umbrella of all the things that we have a right to be outraged about and looking for a way to express our opinion and to let the power structure, the global corporations that are running everything, and the global corporations that all invest in Super Bowl Sunday. We have to let them know our dissatisfaction in a major way, in a way that impacts their bottom line. I'm going to give you another group, and I'm part of this group in a major way. And I've already talked about this to some degree, but just if you're someone like me that looks at these people rotting away in jails over January 6th, and you sat and watched the entire cross-section of America loot, riot, and burn all of 2020 over George Floyd. And none of those people that looted, rioted, burned, murdered, are those people being treated the way January 6 people are being treated? Or was Kamala Harris and LeBron James and the whole left raising bail money for them? How we're just supposed to just hope that there's some sort of election that leads to the people on January 6th being pardoned? Or are we supposed to look for avenues to support them in a major, massive way? If we can get the Super Bowl audience to drop by 10%, 5%, 20%, that's a way of telling the global corporations, let them people up out of jail. Enough is enough. 18 years for a man that wasn't even there? Men sitting in prisons for 2 and 3 years? 2 women murdered? This is our way, this is our avenue to voice our complaints. There is no bigger one-day event than the Super Bowl. 100 million people tune in. It is the national holiday. It's a way to send a message to corporate America that we've had enough. And we want a seat at the table. And we want our voices to be heard. You won't allow us to protest. You've dirtied up our elections. You've illegalized our point of view throughout the media. This is our only avenue, other than grabbing our guns. This is our only avenue. They can't, by you turning off your, not turning off your TV, by you choosing to do something else on Super Bowl Sunday. And I got some ideas about what we can do and why I want you all to reach out to every Christian conservative influencer, podcaster, media person that you can think of and ask them, put this idea in front of them. We should do counter programming with all of our shows on Super Bowl Sunday and invite everyone. Turn off the damn football game and come listen to me talk about the issues that I'm passionate about, racial idolatry. Go listen to Matt Walsh talk about the transgender movement. Go listen to Glenn Beck talk about the Federal Reserve, and go listen to Steve Deace talk about COVID. Go listen to Royce talk about the Federal Reserve or whatever. Go listen to Alex Jones explain the whole global agenda. Let's do that on Super Bowl Sunday rather than continue to support a sport that has sold us out, that's pushing a narrative and an agenda that destroys us and leaves our children vulnerable. I'm telling you, I'm glad I mentioned the COVID thing because this, I can't wait to bring this idea to Steve Dace and Daniel Horowitz and and a lot of the other people. Because Steve Dace, like me, is a hardcore football fan, but this COVID thing and how just when I talk about how they turn football into a platform for their agenda, they jam that COVID shot down virtually all of their players' throats. And then they went bragging about, 98% of NFL players are vaccinated. That was all. Again, this is what I'm talking about, how they use this football platform to get men to do things they know they shouldn't do, to normalize a weak, feminized behavior, to get you to go, oh man, whatever this lab in China did, it's bigger and stronger than God. It's more important than the immune system that God gave you. Jam this vax down your throat. Don't go see your dying grandmama in the nursing home. Fill her up with this COVID vaccine. The NFL participated in all of that messaging. Big Pharma controls the NFL because they control television through their advertising. If you want to send a message to Big Pharma and the COVID crooks and all the global corporations that normalized and fear-mongered everybody into taking the clot shot, Super Bowl Sunday is right, it's waiting for us to use that platform to send our own counter message and to say enough is enough. When I tell you what they've done to the football and the NFL, college players all had to take the clot shot, college kids, some of the healthiest people on the planet were forced to take the shot, and football and sports were used to sell it to us. And you don't want to take revenge? You can't give up one day. Have your Super Bowl party. Just don't watch. Watch something else. Talk about something else. Let's follow Royce's lead about, hey, let's quit being jerk-offs. And let's take Super Bowl Sunday to focus in on some of these primary issues that are at the heart of American civilization. Because they're not done with the COVID vaccines. They're going to use football and sports to sell us a second wave of vaccines. And so the people all these young people with myocarditis, all these people that are having these blood clot issues, all these people that didn't get to spend their last days with their loved ones because, you got to wear a mask, you got to stay away from them. You got kids that abandoned 1.5 years, 2 years of school and will never recover from that. And you have no way of expressing your animus and anger and justifiable animus and anger about that, about what they did to all of us. People who spent their last year or two on this earth, miserable, locked up at home, locked up in a assisted living facility, away from their families. And we have no way of really expressing our dissatisfaction. We've been silenced. No media to speak for us, protest still legalized, can't count on elections. This whole system has been rigged to stop your voice from being heard. Super Bowl presents us an enormous opportunity. We're talking about one game. Have your party, make your dip, all that, but turn on the Steve Day Show and listen to him walk you through this COVID disaster and how Anthony Fauci needs to be put on trial. And again, I have not talked with anybody beyond the, 8 to 10 people that work for me on this show on a daily basis. I haven't talked to Steve Dace, haven't talked to Matt Walsh, last night, the beginning of that football game and the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing, and then me thinking about Deion and the baby all weekend. And it wasn't until this morning that I woke up and I was like, man, we got to do something. What can we do? How do we fight back? How do we send a message? And so I'm thinking this through and talking this through in real time. And that's why I do sincerely want your feedback. I want you to email me, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. I want you in the comments. We're going to read all of the comments. I will probably read every comment myself, but if not me, someone on my team will read them. I hope there's 10,000 comments because I will make an attempt to read them all. But I really want your feedback on all of this because we need to get other people involved. Can't just be the Fearless Army. All of the people that are frustrated with any number of things. For me, and this is, if you watch this show, you know how I feel about racial idolatry and the Black Lives Matter movement. It's the plague of society. It's the plague of churches. It's blinded people to obvious truths. It's blinded people from being able to stand on their values. It's the whole black racial idolatry thing is that is the value people are standing on rather than standing on God's values. The NFL participated in that, normalized that. NFL had Pittsburgh Steelers putting the name of some drive-by shooter on the back of their helmets. The NFL participated, along with the NBA and all these other sports, participated in turning career criminals who resisted arrest into the biggest heroes in America. The NFL and Black Lives Matter made a U.S. president say George Floyd's death more impactful than Martin Luther King Jr.'s death. That's the NFL. That's racial idolatry. Racial idolatry is why, and particularly the idolatry part of it, idols, worshiping them, standing in the way of your worship of God. I want you to, what's so frustrating for me, there's 2 black college football coaches that are 5-0. One of them's in the national title hunt. James Franklin is the coach at Penn State, 5-0. I think his team's ranked 6th or 7th in the country. They're a national title contender. Mike Locksley is the head coach at Maryland. They're 5-0. They play Ohio State this weekend. No one knows anything about them. No one's paying attention. But hell, most people don't even know they're black, which I'm not saying good or bad thing, but Deion is such an idol that all the attention has gone to him. And then he's turned around and placed all the attention on these other idols. All these guys that are standing on the sidelines hoping to get in this Colorado limelight and the idolatry around Deion. Deion pretends, or some of y'all fall for the okie doke and, oh, he's using it to put the spotlight on God. No, he's not. Because if he was, the baby would have been nowhere near his football team. Offset wouldn't have been nowhere near his football team. You don't bring all that weed and criminality and debauchery and say, oh, yeah, I'm representing God. But he's overshadowed everything. He's this bright, shiny object. And so it's all these people that are pretending like, oh, God, I'm really for black people and this. No, you're for idols. Because you don't care nothing about James Franklin and Penn State. They're 5-0 and in the national title hunt. You don't care nothing about Mike Locksley. What an incredible rebound story Mike Locksley is. This dude in his first go-around as a head coach in 2.5 years in New Mexico might have won 2 games. Got run out of there in controversy. This dude got up off his knees, got knocked down, got up off his knees, went and took a GA job with Nick Saban in Alabama, rebuilt his career, and is now having incredible success at Maryland. And again, I'm not that it's important, but go look at his coaching staff and who he's empowered and who he's promoted and elevated and who he's working with. But no one can see it because we have so much idolatry around Deion Sanders. He blights out everything. And then he racializes everything. And he's never walked it back. Calls himself a Christian and then gets in a press conference and says, when a black man walks his walk and talks his talk and makes y'all uncomfortable and blah, blah, blah. Straight up BS. That's not what a Christian would say. It's not what a Christian would do. But this entire racial idolatry that and this whole Black Lives Matter movement that the NFL embraced, and therefore that made ESPN and Fox Sports embrace it as well. And that's why everybody sits on these shows, and Stephen A. Smith and Marcus Spears will sit there and go, oh yeah, some white people at BYU, they're all racist. They called this Duke volleyball player the N-word, and BYU is a racist place. It's not one shred of proof that that ever happened. And then after an investigation, and after everybody listened, it did not happen. Did ESPN, did they ever walk it back? Did they ever apologize? Did they ever say a word? Smeared an entire university, all the kids on that campus, on a far-fetched story. Dawn Staley, the South Carolina, refused to play at BYU because she didn't feel safe. She didn't want to put her kids through that environment. Something allegedly happened during a volleyball game at BYU, and Dawn Staley is afraid to take her basketball team to play BYU. It's all racial idolatry. She'll take her basketball team to go play at Memphis, where the murder rate for young black kids is astronomical. They'll be far more unsafe playing at Memphis than playing against BYU. You know why I know that? And you know why I know it's BS? Because everybody's flocking to Boulder, Colorado, which is every bit as white as anything in Utah. Ain't nobody scared. In fact, all I hear from Deion is how much they love it. So all of these lies based out of racial idolatry, all this racial division that's being promoted through the Black Lives Matter movement, the phoniness of the Black Lives Matter movement, the NFL sold us all of it, every bit of it. They got end racism in the back of their end zone. And oh, it just sounds so harmless. And how could you be against that, Whitlock? Because it's stupid. It's a waste of time. It's a distraction. There will never be an end to racial unfairness because there will never be an end to unfairness until Jesus comes back. People are unfair and full of sin. And so they might as well put end air in the back of the end zone. And that's not me saying we should accept racism, because we should not. But a slogan, centering it during a football game, it's stupid, it's pandering. It's all to create a myth that America is defined by racism. No, it's not. If anything, it's defined by its fight to end racism, to alleviate racism, to remove racism, to lessen the damage of racism. That's what defines America. That's our narrative arc. That's the facts and the truth. And one thing has sent that narrative the other direction. We went from, again, you can see a clear arc from the inception, from 1776 to 2014. Racism has been on the decline in America. And then Black Lives Matter came around. And they have promoted racism. Promoted racism at every turn. And in my 56 years of life, race relations have never been worse than they are right now. And you have young black people running around like the KKK, running around entitled, insisting on a special form of treatment, willing to use physical force to impose the special treatment that they desire. It's KKK behavior. And people can deny it and say, oh, what about so-and-so? No, man. It is as obvious and as in your face as anything that there is a anti-white racism that is running rampant through America. And no one is speaking out against it. Not the church, not anyone. And we watch people in sports media virtually every day play the race card the other direction. I just saw a video of that's went viral today of Rodney Harrison before Sunday night's game or after Sunday night's game, talking to Chiefs defensive lineman Chris Jones after the game and insisting, trying to bait Chris Jones into taking pot shots at Zach Wilson. He's hot garbage. He's the, blah, blah, blah. I mean, just begging Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Chiefs. And Chris Jones, to his credit, would not take the bait. And then I've seen other NFL players, Micah Parsons, calling out Rodney Harrison for what he did. But I don't blame Rodney Harrison. This behavior has been normalized. Zach Wilson is a white NFL quarterback. You can say anything you want about Zach Wilson, and there will be no repercussions. Rodney Harrison would never interview another NFL player and try to bait that NFL player to, hey, call Pat Mahomes garbage, call Lamar Jackson garbage, call Kyler Murray garbage, call Teddy Bridgewater garbage. It would never happen. Because RG3 and everybody else would come running out of the closet, running to their Twitter feed, that's racist! But you can do it to Zach Wilson. This has been normalized. Drew Brees got run through it. He was a coward and folded. I would have never folded. But he got run through the ringer because he defended the national anthem. And Maria Taylor and everybody got the head bobbing and rolling their neck and head and, you know, how racist Drew Brees is. This has been normalized throughout all of sports media. The NFL could put a stop to it. All they'd have to say is, hey, these conversations are too one-sided. We want someone on air talking about our sport that will argue the other side. Whole thing would just fall apart instantly. Because, trust me, no one says this dumb stuff they're saying if they know there's someone sitting in a room that will argue the other side and expose how stupid they are. Does not happen. And so the opportunity I'm talking about here as it relates to the Super Bowl, there will be a domino effect. If we take on the Super Bowl and damage the Super Bowl, watch what every other sports league does. They'll fall in line. Even the NBA. They'll all back down and fall in line and cut it out and make their games less political and the conversation far more balanced and fair. We have a terrific opportunity here. All of these television commercials that, quite frankly, center the whole LGBTQ initiative. We'd see a lot less of that if we execute this well on Super Bowl Sunday. All of it goes away, or much of it goes away. All this diversity, equity, inclusion is being jammed down everybody's throat, and the elimination of the meritocracy. So let me walk you through that one, and this is a big one, because again, there's so many things we could unpack and put on an agenda and raise up for questioning if we were willing on Super Bowl Sunday to walk away from football. Just one day. But let's say you've been on your job, putting in work, showing up for work on time, working hard, doing an excellent job, but you can't get promoted at your job because everything runs through a quota system that's run by someone from the alphabet mafia who's running your HR department. And they got to empower a woman, or they got to empower a LGBTQ person, or they got to put in power a black woman. Let's say, and again, people don't understand this, but trust me, this diversity, equity, inclusion, black Christian men, we're not a part of that agenda. Black gay men, yeah, you're part of that agenda. You can get promoted on your job easily. Woman, easily. Angry leftist woman, real easy. So let's say you're tired of that. Let's say you realize, like, hey, merit no longer matters in America. how hard I work, how reliable I am, no longer matters. And you want to object. You want to raise your hand and say, hey man, I need merit to play a role on my work situation and in America. Then we can't just keep putting John Fetterman in office. We can't put Kamala Harris in office. We can't put all these compromised people in office because they're much easier to control. We can't have Dianne Feinstein die on the job at 90 because she meets some agenda and because she's easy to control because she's been on her deathbed for 5 years. John Fetterman, compromised by strokes. Joe Biden, compromised by dementia. All these puppets that they are installing that have nothing to do with merit. If you want to object to that, you want to scare corporate America and say, hey, I'm dissatisfied. This is what we can accomplish on Super Bowl Sunday. There are so many legitimate complaints that we have that we don't have a vehicle to express those complaints in a massive way that has an impact. Again, I'm repeating myself. You can't vote them out. They control the election process and system. They control who the candidates are. They make sure they have compromised candidates at every turn, people that they have dirt on, people that they can completely control. Then they've rigged up the voting system or fortified the voting system, as they say. You can't go protest anywhere because they'll frame you as a white supremacist or some sort of terrorist. And then they'll run you through their court system in D.C. that's a complete and total rig job where you won't be facing a jury of your peers. You'll be facing a group of Democrats and leftists who have been programmed to hate you. The President of the United States has repeatedly told American citizens that white supremacy is the biggest threat to American safety. And they've defined white supremacy as white conservatives, evangelical conservatives. That's the basic layman's understanding of white supremacy. White guy that believes in God. And so they've programmed this base of people in D.C. that 94, 95% of them vote Democrat. 90 some odd percent of them are black. And so your jury of peers are black leftists who've been programmed to see you as the devil. Good luck going to Washington, D.C. and protesting anything. And you're shocked that they're convicting people of crimes that were never committed on January 6th? It's a killing field. It's a rigged system. You're shocked that black women prosecutors are coming up with trumped up charges against Donald Trump? It's a rigged system. George Soros has put those people in place. They believe that Donald Trump and his crowd are white supremacists. Why wouldn't they put Trump in jail if you were trained to believe that? So, can't vote them out. They'll put you in prison if you go protest. No voice in corporate media. But you want to let people know, like, hey, man, I got a son and a grandson that the world that we're building right now, and I'm talking about whether you're black or white, if you're a Christian and you have a son or a grandson, the world that they're building for your grandchildren and your children is a matriarchal world that will annihilate them. that will emasculate them, that will mutilate their gender, that will mutilate their private parts, that will let biological men compete against women in sports. You're walking your kids and grandkids into a world that is rigged to destroy them and to destroy the values that God passed on. You need an opportunity to express your dissatisfaction in a way that has impact. We can go to church, and we should. We can pray, and we should. But at some point, we have to take meaningful action that doesn't make it easy for them to put us in jail, doesn't make it easy for them to call us racist or sellouts, doesn't make it easy for them to ignore what we're doing. If we can get enough of us to say, you know what, F the Super Bowl, let's do something else. And they can go play with the Nielsen ratings and numbers, but if we executed this properly and went to our own individual platforms and hosted counter events where people could see like, oh man, look how many people watched Matt Walsh or watched Jason Whitlock or watched Glenn Beck or watched Mark Levin or watched Ali Beth Stuckey. If we could do some counter programming and walked away from the Super Bowl and had our own events focusing on all these different issues that we have every right to be upset about. These guys are responsible for the deaths of thousands of Americans through this COVID vaccine hoax. These guys have weaponized the Department of Justice and used it to silence your voice. These guys have fortified the election and made all of us question the legitimacy of elections. Joe Biden got 81 million votes, allegedly. These guys have shoved the alphabet mafia agenda down our throats. These guys have normalized racial idolatry and racial division and Black Lives Matter. These guys have normalized 5- and 6-year-old kids. Hey, you get to decide what gender you are, and we got to give you puberty blockers. And if you decide to cut your balls and breasts off, we got to affirm that and do that too, even though you're just a little kid and you can't decide your bedtime. These guys have locked up a bunch of innocent people on January 6th. These guys right now are trying to destroy Elon Musk for trying to protect free speech, for trying to make Twitter or X a platform that respects free speech. Our First Amendment. These guys got drag queens coming to read books to your kids. And we have no aggressive, demonstrable way of showing our dissatisfaction in a way that could impact and lessen some of this BS we've been tolerating. It sounds trivial, boycott the Super Bowl. It's a way of sending a major message. It's a way of putting them on their heels. It's a way of making them have to address the things we're concerned about. I don't I don't want to give up football or sports, really. I don't. Critical to my development. Without football, I would have never been on a college campus. Never. Without the football coaches putting pressure on me. I don't know if I would have had an interest in high school without football. Football allowed me to grow up and experience things and develop a wider perspective on life. Participation in sports. It wasn't just football, basketball, track, the whole thing. That was my fun. That was my purpose. I went to school so I could play sports. And eventually I figured out that, this other stuff in school is important too, and learning can be fun. But it was sports that allowed me to grow up and get a wider perspective on life. I went to college to party and have a good time. And then luckily, at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I can get educated and have a career, and started really focusing in on journalism. But football was very patient with me. It gave me a purpose. It drove me a better direction. I'm not going to give up on it. I've thought about it ever since the Colin Kaepernick thing. I've had to, just quit watching. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to surrender. I do want to make a point, though, to football people. I do want to scare the piss out of them. I do want to make some demands, and that's where I really, really, really need you all's help in terms of, let's boycott, make that point, but let's also what's our demands? What do we want from this? Part of me, again, because I believe in retribution and accountability and sacrificial lambs to drive home the point. I want Roger Goodell out. Gone. Dusted. He's been the weak leader at the head of all this. This whole revamping, the whole going the other direction of the direction Pete Rozelle took football. He's been the weak leader that allowed all this insanity to happen. Dusty. Troy Vincent, too. Troy Vincent's like the number 2 guy. He's the number 1 racial idolater in all of this. Dusty. Gone. New leadership. Don't trust these guys. Vote them out. These jobs are like lifetime appointments these guys are given. They work the politics in a way that and go after it. You all won't understand it, or many people won't understand, but they assassinated the character of Daniel Snyder because he wouldn't get on board with the leftist agenda. Daniel Snyder's no better, no worse than any of those other NFL owners. But Roger Goodell and the media assassinated Daniel Snyder's character, singled him out, and they pick them off one by one. Jerry Richardson, owner of the Carolina Panthers. They're after Jerry Jones right now. Just pick them off and replace them with guys that will get on board with the agenda. That's Roger Goodell. Dusty. That should be a demand. You want us to quit boycotting the Super Bowl? Dust Roger Goodell. You ain't got the balls. You're not man enough to do it. Fans should do it. Super Bowl. We don't watch till Roger Goodell's gone. That would send a message. You take out the CEO of the NFL. That sends a message to every other corporate coward across America. Because they're all cowards. You got a bunch of, I'm just being descriptive, not trying to give in to racial idolatry. But you got a bunch of white cowards, men, in power at these global corporations that are just trying to survive. They're not leaders. They're not visionaries. They don't have a set of values that they're trying to stick to and adhere to. They just want to survive. Roger Goodell just wants that $40, $50 million a year check rolling in. They just want to survive. Then they'll retire and pass it along to the next guy who will come in there and be a coward too. Colin Kaepernick, you want to kneel all season? We won't stop you. We won't suspend you. They could have put Colin Kaepernick down day one. David Stern, back before this whole left-wing takeover of sports, David Stern put Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf down, Chris Jackson, they put him down in a day. We ain't having that in the NBA. 20 years later, they let Colin Kaepernick kneel for an entire season and start this entire woke movement. Roger Goodell's weak leadership. He's got to go. But that's where I need you all's help. What should be our demands? How do we get some of these other content creators that agree with me that again, maybe their issue is drag queens in schools. Maybe it's January 6th. Maybe it's the transgender issue. Maybe it's Black Lives Matter. Maybe it's election integrity. Maybe it's the Federal Reserve, the Department of Justice, COVID. But all of us content creators, whatever their issue is, Super Bowl Sunday is a great day and a great opportunity to make a point. And so, like I said, I'm going to reach out to all of them. I'm friendly with many of them, but I need you all to reach out to them as well. Send them this content, send them an email, hop on their Twitter feeds or Instagram pages and tell them, hey man, go check out what Whitlock talked about on Monday. I think we should do this. I think you should be involved. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's a way of sending a message about the issue that you care about. We didn't turn football into this political platform, that this full-blown left-wing political, they did that. They took what was ours and then sculpted it to their message. I just want to take it back. Someone steals something from me, I'm like O.J. Simpson. I'm going to go to Las Vegas and get my memorabilia. Put me in jail. I think we have an opportunity here. Would love to hear from you all. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. I doubt I am crazy, but maybe this is far-fetched, can't happen. I hear, oh, I know. Someone told me today before the show, man, I just don't, my kids, they love the Super Bowl. Hey, man, I get it. Don't nobody love the Super Bowl more than me. I've watched virtually every one of them. Probably attended 20. Love football. But I love God more. I love my country more. I want a culture that's healthy and reflective of some of the values that I hold dear. That's more important to me than one football game. It's more important than Super Bowl Sunday. I can eat wings and con queso dip on Thursday. I can rewatch an old Super Bowl. I can make. We got to be willing to make some sacrifice. Many of you, again, you went on January 6th and you made the ultimate sacrifice. You're sitting in jail, or your family member sitting in jail. But I just don't think this is that hard, this difficult. I don't think it's a bridge too far. I don't think I don't think I'm asking that much. And I think if your kids don't understand, explain it to them. they'll understand, like, oh, Daddy, all right, Dad, that's what we need to do so that just the choice is like, let things continue out, and your children are going to enter a workforce that already exists, but is going to be 10 times stronger, that favors the alternative lifestyle employee over the heterosexual Christian employee. Your kids are going to continue to go to schools where the prevailing culture is, unless you're bisexual, you're a homophobe and a weirdo. That's the environment your kids are going to right now. There is pressure on them to be gender fluid, sexually fluid. That's what the cool kids are. If you're good with that, and oh boy, I don't know if I can pass up the Super Bowl. That's hard. And I'm just telling you, this Super Bowl thing could work. The Bud Light thing worked. That's where our power is, in the boycott, in the financial show of strength. We left Bud Light alone, quit drinking it, made it uncool, and Bud Light has been running the other direction ever since, and other corporations have been fearful of making the same mistake as Bud Light. If we do this to the NFL on Super Bowl Sunday, watch how many people pay attention to us. Watch how many people back up and start listening to us. Watch how many of these media corporations say, oh boy, we just can't let all these leftists on air unchallenged. I lost my voice. I got to stop. I'm continuing to lose my voice. Anyway, email me, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. Reach out to all these different content creators who share our values. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment at the bottom of this YouTube page. Get in the live chat. If you're on Apple, leave a comment there about this idea and what you think. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna